So this is a brief walkthrough of OBS. I'm going to do sort of two cameras, one of which is a separate webcam that I've got mounted over a sort of work table that I can use for sort of close-up shots of stuff. And the second one is the built-in camera on my laptop. I'm going to do this with a green screen. You don't need to do it with a green screen, but it will be there. You can see it behind me. So that if you are, you can sort of see how it works. All right. So if you have OBS Studio installed, we're going for studio mode. You can see that down here on the right. That's sort of where we're at. If you're in the install, we're not really doing streaming. Just the studio mode should be fine, and it should look like this. If it doesn't, try again. I don't know. I'm not super savvy with all of this, so I'm not totally sure. But here we are. We've got OBS open. Couple of basic things. Over here on the left, there's the preview window. Preview window shows you sort of the shot that is on deck. Over here on the right, the program window, that shows you the shot that would be going out into the world via the virtual webcam, which I'll talk about in a bit. So sort of like broadcast TV, right? You have a set of different shots ready. You choose whatever shot you want up next, and then you hit go. It transitions to that. That becomes a broadcast shot. And then when you go to the next one, same thing. So you are, to borrow my previous metaphor, you've got an overall shot of the football field. You've got a cameraman down there with a shot of the quarterback. So you have that over here in preview. You would go to the shot of the quarterback. Right now, that's over here in your program window. Then up next, maybe you'd have a shot of the fan. That would be in your preview. Transition to that. That's over in your program window. And then maybe back to the big shot of the game. So the way that OBS works, you set up a couple of different scenes. You'll see those down here. Right now it just says scene 1. Yours may have a different default name. I couldn't honestly remember what the default name was, so I just called it scene 1. But whatever it is, that's your basic blank shot. It doesn't have any content yet, which is why the screen is blank. So if we go down here to scenes, scene 1, I want to add something to that. So let me move this up just a little bit. Come down here and hit that plus button if I want to add a scene. If I just want to add content to a scene, I come over here to sources. In sources, I come down here and hit a plus. And that pops up this long list of stuff. A lot of it, I don't know what it is. Basic stuff, images, right? That's cool. Video capture device, we're going to use that. Window capture, that's if I want to choose a application that I have open, we'll do that as well. But first off, I'm just going to start with a video capture device. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Ask me to give it a name. I'm going to call this laptop built-in camera. Okay. Get this little thing that pops up, choose the device. What your camera is called may vary. Mine's apparently called FaceTime HD camera. Click on it. It will give me this preview. So that shows me what that camera feed is. You can also see over here on the left, it is now here in this preview window because this has been selected as the source for scene 1. There may be presets as far as resolution. I don't know. I'm just using whatever it comes up with, and I'll hit OK. So now we have it over here in preview, and we can do things like scale it. You'll see this little sort of dashed line. If you have image that is outside of your sort of broadcasty rectangle thing, It will show up as a dashed line or dashed, whatever, hatched space. This is great, right? We're there. Color's a little crummy. That's because it's probably doing auto white balance, and I have this big green thing behind me. Not a lot of great ways to control that with the laptop camera. So I'm going to go ahead and, since I do have that green screen, I'll show you how to put that, to have that take effect. So I'm back down here at the bottom, scene 1, which is my laptop camera. Over here, the source, again, it is that laptop camera. I'm going to control click on that, and I can choose a filter. Click on the filter. So it's showing me, again, this is for my source. And I have audio video filters. If I click plus, shows me what those are. I'm not going to use any of those. Down here, effect filters, that's what I'm looking for. And right there is chroma key. I'll call it green screen. I don't know that I need to name it anything, but I will. All right, default values seem pretty good. You can adjust these a little bit. What do they do? I don't know. I mean, tinker with them. But that looks pretty good. I'll hit close. So now if I look in my scene 1, I have me here being green screen. There's some weird shimmeriness on my shirt. I don't know what that is. We'll see if something happens with it later. But for the moment, there we go. I have this inky void of space behind me in that preview window. I would like to have that be something better, like whatever I would like to have my green screen be. So to do that, I need to bring in another source, right? So this is in scene 1. I have that camera with the green screen. That's my laptop camera, and then I have something else underneath it that will be whatever my background is. Sort of like Photoshop layers. Thing on top, thing below. Thing below shows through that transparent area. So I'm going to go down here to sources, hit plus again, and I'm just going to go up here to image. I'm going to put myself in a gallery. Gallery setting. Again, call it whatever you want. Image file, browse, and I know I put something on my desktop. Sample background. Cool. Looks good to me. All right. So here's my sample background. I resized it to be a little bit smaller. Looks like I made it a little bit too small. There you go. Oh, actually, no, I made it a little bit too big. So here you can see that striped area is the part that is not on stage. You might as well shrink those things down. I was just screwing up there. If I go down here to sources, I actually had my laptop built-in camera selected, so I was sliding that around. Who knows where it is now? I want to take that gallery setting, which is what we have right here, click on that in sources, drag it down below the laptop camera, and poof, there I am. With gallery settings selected, I'll scale that down a little bit. Okay, that seems fine. Again, there's that stripy bit that is hanging sort of off the stage area. There's me. Again, I don't know if you can see it, but I am getting this weird jitteriness in that in my shirt. So I'm going to control click on the laptop built-in camera source, go back to green screen, and click defaults. Maybe that will get rid of it. Yeah, that looks better. I have a little bit of greenness around me, you know, whatever. Cool. So now we have me here in this lovely gallery setting. My color's still not great, but you know, what you gonna do? Because this is my laptop camera, me shaking my laptop around, moving the laptop is going to cause it to move. This is also probably distracting because I'm looking up that camera, back here, that camera. It's a good time. So that's scene 1. I'm going to rename it by control clicking on it over here, rename it to me in gallery. For some reason, when I hit return, when I rename things, it doesn't change it, so I'll type it in, click off there. All right, so now I've got scene 1. Scene 1 is me right here and whatever it is that I want behind me. Second thing that I would like to have in here is a close-up image that I'm getting from a webcam. That's going to be used to show pieces of equipment. So to do that, I'm going to go over here to scenes. I'm going to click plus to make a new scene. I'm going to call it worktop. Does that make sense? Tabletop. Let's call it that. Is worktop even a word? Who knows? Cool. So there's tabletop. Doesn't have any content yet. I'm going to go over here to sources, click that plus button, go down here to video capture device. Call it tabletop webcam. Choose a device. And there we go. So this is a webcam that I have mounted over to the side, and it has it's just like up on a little arm pointing down at a tabletop where I have a camera. Something you want to demo, something you want to look at, you know, where the camera is, how big the tabletop is, how high it is, all that stuff depends what you need to do with it. So again, I'll hit OK. Scale it so that it fits on stage a little bit better. So one of the problems with it is that it is sort of the reverse of how I think of it as being oriented. So because of the way my webcam is mounted, this is sort of 180 degrees from what I would like it to be. That's pretty easy to fix. Go back here to source, control click, transform, rotate 180 degrees, boom, there we go. So now this is more, I reach over here, and I am sort of at the bottom of the screen. The webcam I'm using autofocuses and can autofocus pretty close, so I can talk about parts of the camera, elements of the lens, whatever works for you. Okay, so now we have 2 scenes. If I go back here, we have the tabletop and then me in the gallery. So all this has been in the preview window. We still don't have anything in the program window. If I go to me in the gallery, come up here in the middle and hit transition, it will automatically put that in the program window. And now if we are in BC, this is being beamed out to hundreds of people. If we are a gamer on Twitch, this is now being beamed out to millions of people, whatever. So there's that in the program window. Over here in preview, whatever I have selected in scenes, all right, that is now in the preview window. If I hit transition, boop, that comes over here into the program window. And I think by default, whatever was in the program window goes to preview. So I could just sit here and transition back and forth all day long. If I just had 2 scenes, this is all I would need. That would be totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and do a 3rd scene. Now, this may be relevant to you. It may be something you use instead of one of these other 2 scenes. It may not be something you use, but I wanted to put it out there. The 3rd scene I'm going to do is a like a slideshow, right? If I'm showing art history thing or PDF or any other kind of content, I would like to have that in there and maybe a little talking head of me down in the corner. So to do that, I'm going to make a new scene. I'm going to call this scene slide lecture. Okay. Again, no content. Come over here to sources, plus. And I'm going to go window capture. So window capture is going to allow me to take the visual of some application that I have open on my computer and show that. I have a slideshow that's a PDF loaded in, preview. So I'm going to go to window capture and preview slideshow. This means you will need to have planned out and open whatever it is that you want your slideshow to be. If you wanted to have different slideshows, you would need to make different sources for each of them. And you would need to have those windows be open, not resize them, not close them during your sort of live cast thing. So select window. This shows all the things I think that I have open. Goodness, that's a lot of things. Okay, I don't see it. So I'm going to go down here to preview. And it was minimized, so perhaps that is why it did not show up. All right, let's cancel out of that and try it again. Preview slideshow, double click on it, window, preview, there we go. So I would need to have this window closed when I'm opening preview. Once preview is open, then I can go in here, select it, boom, there it is. The resolution that you're going to get here, the size you're going to get here, is going to be dependent a little bit on how big it is in on your screen, I think. So keep that in mind. I'll hit OK. I'll scale it down. Drag it over here. The proportion that you have, right, may or may not take up the whole screen. If I come over here on my desktop to that actual preview window, here it is. If I were to show thumbnails, right, those will also show up in this window, so not great. But, oops, sidebar. But as I advance through the slides, it will also advance in there. Now I have two monitors, so I'm going to slide this over off this particular screen so that it's not taking up this thing here. When you're actually doing it, you would probably need to just minimize OBS a little bit so that you could have preview active and sort of arrow keys through it. Okay, so that is my slide lecture, and that would be fine, right? If I just wanted to have a slideshow, but I'm an egomaniac, right? I would like to have my head in there in the slideshow because I just cannot get enough of me. So I'm going to go back down here to sources, right? We have preview slideshow, video capture device, and I'm going to choose add existing laptop built-in camera. So I've already set up the laptop built-in camera. That means it already has a green screen. I don't have to do all that stuff again. Pops up here. I can shrink it down, move it over a little bit. And now I can have a slide lecture while simultaneously having my head in it, and my head is not taking up a whole lot of space because of the green screen. And I could point a little bit, if I can figure out which way I'm pointing, at things if I wanted to. If you had a much wider angle shot with a green screen, you could point even more, but this is pretty good. Okay, so I have three shots. I have, right, transition to that, boom. I have me in the gallery, right, so that's this shot right here. I have this tabletop shot. It's right there, and I have this slide lecture. Each of those, when I click on it over here, will show up in the preview window, and if I hit transition, they will pop up in the program window. It would be nice to be able to do that without having to click on things, in part because I'm on this like super wobbly table, and so it looks like I'm in an earthquake all the time. That's not great. But we can make it a little bit more easy. We go up here to OBS Preferences, and down here there are hotkeys. So if I scroll down in hotkeys, it shows various things: me in the gallery, slide lecture, tabletop. Right? Those are the three names of our scenes. So switch to scene. So me in the gallery, I'm going to give a hotkey of 1. Slide lecture, I'm going to give a hotkey of 3. Tabletop, I'm going to give a hotkey of 2. I did it in that order just because that's the order that they're in over here, and that will make it a little bit easier for me to remember. So those are now set up. What that's going to do is when I hit 1, 2, or 3, it will automatically pop that into the preview window. Again, assuming that I am in OBS. If I click over onto preview to be going backwards and forwards through my slideshow, obviously these hotkeys won't work until I come back and click on the OBS program window and make that sort of my primary program. The other thing that I need to do is that I need to get a key for my transition. So I want to have be able to select it and then transition between them. I'm going to do that right here. It's already default quick transition fade, and the quick key for that is a I guess single quote. It's whatever is below the tilde on the keyboard on the upper left. So I think that's a single opening quote. Don't hold me to it. Maybe it's an accent mark. Go ahead and hit OK. So now if I hit 1, you'll see here in the preview window, goes to me in the gallery. 2 goes to the tabletop. 3 goes to slide lecture. And if I hit that apostrophe or whatever, open quote, single quote, it does the transition. So if I hit 1 and that transition key, 2, 3. This means that I can do all of that with one hand, kind of without thinking too hard about it. I'm going to go in here and rename these scenes with the number that their quick key is, because otherwise I do not remember. Control click, rename to, and again, don't hit return because for some reason that doesn't commit to a name when I do it. And then 3, rename 3, oops, escape. Rename slide lecture. Cool. So now we're all set to switch between these things relatively simply and have whatever content you want. Again, remember, if you just want the slide thing and you don't want to have a little talking head in it, then your slide lecture would only have one source. It would just have whatever that window is that you're sharing. I like having a little head, talking head down there in the bottom, but again, egomaniac. Cool, so all this is good. We still don't have a way to get it out there into the world. To do that, I'm going to go up here to Tools, and you'll see something down here that says Start Virtual Camera. You can get a virtual camera, download it, also free, just like OBS. Will depend on your operating system, and I have a link to the one that I use for the Mac. Pretty basic. Once you've installed OBS, you install the virtual camera, restart everything, and then it pops up here in Tools. I'll go ahead and start that. The virtual web camera means now that if I go to, sorry, I got interrupted by a doorbell because that's the way life is. So the virtual webcam is great because I can use it if I go to say Google Meet, start a meeting. It will show up there, and it's a little laggy right now. I think that's mostly because I have a bunch of other things going on my computer. But if I go back to OBS, here, I'll stick that in another window for a moment, and go to my different windows, they will show up as well in Google Meet, right? If I was doing it there. Again, you have that super annoying thing where it's going to reverse what you see in Google Meet because it thinks that this is your webcam. Is there a way around that? I don't honestly know, probably, but I don't know what it is. So rest assured that the other end of things, people are getting it the correct way. If I go to Blackboard Collaborate Ultra and open up a test session here, join. We get the same thing. So it's a little frustrating in here because we can't, it's not showing me what it is. You can see it down there in the wee little corner. If I go back and forth from my different sources, the same thing will happen in Blackboard. So that's what you get. And I think any program that asks for a webcam should get something like that. So hopefully this is helpful to you. Again, you don't need to use all the pieces. You don't need to use all the scenes. You can use some of them, not others. Modify them however you want. And I'm not an expert at any of this, so there may be other ways to do things, and there are certainly other tutorials out there. So I hope it's helpful, and good luck.